Live.
We are live.
Wow.
Hello and welcome to this live interview series showcasing supply diversity here. I'm your host, Sandra D'Souza. I'm also the CEO and founder of Elect, which is a digital marketplace connecting small businesses with corporate buyers, and every transaction funds a gender equality project. Thank you all for joining us. Guess what? Today we have Di Lee, and we're going to have a conversation with her. She is the co-CEO of Repurpose Your Purpose, and she's going to talk about her journey as a business owner with us, which we're all very excited to. Di, thank you so much for joining us here on the program today.
Thanks for having me, Sandra. I'm excited. You know, this is going live through StreamYard and I believe through LinkedIn, Facebook, I believe, as well as YouTube. This is
That's
great.
right. We're getting the word out everywhere. So
awesome.
And it's live, and you know what we do? We try to make it very engaging. So definitely feel free to interrupt me, and actually, I'll probably more likely to interrupt you because I would always love to hear about some amazing story. But you know, for those who have been watching this sort of like weekly series, I don't read out a bio because I think it doesn't really give justice to the person that I'm interviewing. So Di, why don't you just give us a bit of your amazing background to our audience here?
Thank you, Sandra. I don't know where to start, but let me start by just a quick background. I came here to Australia as a refugee from Vietnam. That was a few decades ago. English was my second language. I learned how to speak English here. And so studied, grew up in a housing commission, single parent household. And, I wanted to really be a new Australian. And so I thought, how I'm going to do that? And for me to do that was to learn the English language, which I did. So I finished my education here and it ended up becoming a journalist. So I spent almost 2 decades as a storyteller or a journalist working with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, initially in television as a producer for news and current affairs shows such as 7:30 Report. Back then there was Stateline and all of those programs. And then I moved into radio, which I love. Radio is about broadcasting. It's about that very personal conversation that you have with your audience, and ended up becoming a broadcaster for Radio National, producing radio documentaries. I also made a few independent films, documentaries that got shown on ABC and SBS as well. So that's my creative journalism side. And then in 2008, I stepped into the political arena with no experience whatsoever, decided to take this great leap of faith into the unknown and navigated my life myself in that political world, which is just like, oh my God, still navigating through it. And during that process of taking that leap onto the dark side, as a lot of my journalism friends would describe it, I also founded an organization called Dawn. And why I founded that organization, a not-for-profit, was I was so disenchanted with the lack of diversity that I saw across at the leadership level of our mainstream institutions. There were many people of culturally or linguistically diverse backgrounds presenting on the news or programs or the faces on our television screen. It was predominantly, Anglo-Saxon, Anglo-Celtic faces, which is just a description. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying in Australia, I thought was a culturally diverse country. And I felt, so why aren't people of color, of diverse background represented at that level? And then when I was in the political world, I saw again our parliamentarians were predominantly men, and I'm thinking, where are all of us, the ordinary people? Why aren't we represented at that level? And you look at across all the corporate sector, the same thing. And I thought, oh my God, something has to be done. So I'm somebody that don't like to complain. I'm somebody that don't like to be negative about things. I like to solve problems. I like to find solutions to problems. So I thought the only solution was that through the Dawn not-for-profit, I started to, this was about 6-7 years ago, about 2 years into my political arena, I thought, well, let's start and have a conversation. Let's go out there and have a conversation with the corporate sector and finding out why was it that leadership pipeline is not very diverse. And it's a two-way conversation, because it was also talking about to the talent pool to get them to think about leadership. Because when you talk about leadership to the coloured people, if I can put it that way, a lot of them think, no, what, we don't want to go to that leadership level because there's a lot of politics that has to be played and we don't want to be involved. But my point to them is that if you don't take a step up and play a role, then you can't complain with the system that we have and with the policies that we have, or with the solutions that we have that's being created by those that are in the decision making at the decision making level. So I try to stimulate the conversation at the grassroots level to get people of color, and especially women of culturally and linguistically diverse background, to think about leadership roles. And at the corporate level, I look at the senior leadership level, at the board level, those senior executives, the C-suites, to think about how are you planning and harnessing the diversity of your people in your organization. So I did that. I tried that conversation. I pushed that conversation for about 6 years. It was not very sustainable because it was done on my own time. And then I eventually just last year, through COVID, and with an amazing group of women who are as crazy as me and passionate as me about storytelling, form our production company and created the service called Repurpose Your Purpose. So that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing now. In addition to still obviously being an advocate for my community, being a voice for my community, and still very much I see myself as a community activist, going out there, working hard in the community to do the things that they need to do.
Yeah. I think that is, you just got such an amazing background, and also the journey from you overcoming, I guess, I mean, it was a challenging start as a refugee and all that, and you've done something out of it. I mean, you were talking about that, how you were learning a language, and then you became a journalist, which requires a real grasp of language, and you've taken that to community activism, as well as Dawn, trying to bring that multicultural view of the world, which was clearly missing. And I'm because being a colored woman myself, I totally relate and understand. That was the challenge that I felt wherever I go, when I was wherever I was working, whatever I was watching on TV or any of the news. It just felt like it wasn't and also politics. It wasn't a clear representation of the community. And
I think it's not definitely, there's the lack of representation at that leadership level or on our television screens and all of that. But I think it's also the lack. The pool isn't, well, the pool is there, but they're not kind of mobilized to come together and say, what can we do? I have to say, when I first started that push to drive that conversation around diversity in leadership, there wasn't that many organizations kind of starting to talk about it. But I've seen the last 12 months, and I have seen more groups, popping up, like Women of Color, Asian Australian Leadership, women, of course, there's a lot of women in business and women in tech and all of that. So there's a lot of focus of those specific targeted groups. For me, it's about inclusion as well. It's about how do we bring it all together and not just work in silo, even with our different groups that we've set up or that's been set up, because at the end of the day, we have to all work together and come together to make it, to create a thriving economy, because we have to collaborate, whether or not I'm a woman, you're a guy. But if you understand where I'm coming from, it's about how do we work together to have a thriving economy, to have a thriving and cohesive society. That's what I really am passionate about.
And do you know, because of the work with Elect, and here we're talking about supply diversity as one form of diversity in the supply chain with engaging with suppliers, there's actually a lot of research to show diversity groups in work environment and group thinking generate better and innovative thinking in a work environment, in boardrooms, in leadership, in management, not just also in suppliers, and also, the part of things that doing with gender equality. It's also, if there's equal opportunities with men and women, or business owners having that sort of equal opportunity, the GDP would actually triple. And this was a survey, or not survey, but research done by the Boston Consulting Group. So, which are, very astute firm that are well known and highly reputable, who actually says, yeah, there is merit in bringing diversity and inclusiveness. And I totally agree with you that, yes, we're talking about diversity and is showcasing the different groups, but it's all about working together. So we are singing on the same song sheet, if I could say that.
Absolutely. And, in terms of talking about the Boston Consulting Group, I know that some of the statistics that I have used in the past comes from, McKinsey, the McKinsey Group, talking about the economic benefits of having diverse and gender diverse, plus diverse, cultural diverse teams leading your organizations that brings the economic benefit. But it's funny, I thought to myself, but if you look at some of those big firms that do these surveys, if you look at their leadership level, is actually still not diverse. So while they they put out these reports, and I thank McKinsey for having the commitment to these kind of reports. I then said, well, okay, so what's your step to change your own organization to make it quite to basically walk the talk, right? So there's a lot of people out there saying, oh yes, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to get more women, we have to move well. But what are you doing that you're actually showcasing that you are actually practicing what you're preaching? Right. So it's, for me, forming my the business that I have formed with Repurpose Your Purpose, I'm very conscious of how I have to be inclusive. The unfortunate thing is that I have happened to attract women mainly. There are a couple of young men that are working and helping us, but it's predominantly women, and maybe it's a sign that women are now growing as a group of people that are moving into business more. So maybe that's probably where we see the growth of women participating. And in my group, it's women that are at the moment predominantly of Asian background, but different group of Asian, right? Because again, Asia is not just lumped into one. There are, we got Vietnamese, we got Vietnamese Chinese, we got Chinese, we got Filipino. We even have a wonderful, a Bangladesh German, web designer who works with us, who's amazing. So it's about finding values that are aligned with one another, which is about, for me, is about humility, is about courageous conversation, is about giving back, is about kindness, is about collaborative. Those are the values. If we actually and being committed and being in perseverance. These are the values that I so far I've attracted in the last 12 months. But the road to get there, as I've put a post recently, has not been as straightforward. And as you know, Sandra, setting up a business as a woman is challenging because finding investor or finding somebody who's got the money to put in. At the end, you'd have to do it yourself out of your own pocket. And apparently this morning at the event I went to, the CEO, 3% of ventures are women, like investment into ventures for women, whereas there's a lot of venture investment into men kind of tech or business, but for women we only apparently get 3% of the investment. It's like 3%.
I know that stat, and I actually talk about that stat a lot. But before we get into that, so I know you've talked already about your business, Repurpose Your Purpose, and how you got into it. Tell us exactly in terms what are the services that comes with this business?
So Repurpose Your Purpose, because I love business with a purpose, and I felt that we need to really showcase and highlight and shining the light on these businesses that have purposes in life. It's not just doing business for profit's sake. Yes,
Yeah.
there are plenty of that, but how can we change and impact the world? And so we thought, well, we need to then find these businesses with purpose and give them the opportunity to be seen and to be heard and to be more visible. And so that's why we call it Repurpose Your Purpose, and basically helping these businesses with purpose to create content, consistent content that can actually get increased followers or increase people being visible for people hear what you're doing, and then to communicate what you're selling or to communicate what you're doing, your service and your product, to the wider market. And now with online, we're not just talking about a local economy, we're talking about a global economy. So how do you get your business, your message, your brand, helping people build their brand? And that brand has to be purposeful. How to build that brand into a brand that is known and that people can get flocked to. And we know that now, as we're all moving virtually, as we through COVID, is that how do you then stand out from the crowd? How do you be different? How do you sound different? How do you create content consistently? And we know it's a struggle for small businesses and for women to then, buy your gear and then hire somebody to do your editing and all that stuff. We said, well, let's create a service whereby you leave all of this creativity, all of the production to us. And all you do is come to the interview. We do an interview like this, and we get the best content out of you. We help you plan and strategize your content over the next 3 months or 6 months, whatever. And then we work out what content you need for your business. So we go through and work on to get the best messaging, the best narrative for your business. And then we create that. So you walk away, leave all of the headaches of creating that for us to do. We send it back to you, and then of course with your approval, working with you with all of your assets that you have, you'll get beautiful 1-minute video clips that you can share across your social media platforms. And it's not a one-off thing. And I have to remind people this: to build a brand takes years, right? And so and take consistently creating content, but also consistently shaping your message, because you don't want people just to buy your product. You want people to be your loyal followers. You want people to be loyal to your products or services. So therefore, in creating that loyalty, you need to build that brand so that people can follow you.
No, I think it's amazing with what you're doing and you're offering, because I know how painstaking process it is to put a video together. And even though I understand digital marketing and I have a team, video production itself is a massive work, let alone adding the work of creativity. It's fantastic.
We pick the best grabs for you. We know what's the best grabs. We pick the best, of course you have to send us all your assets and we create that for you. We make it sound, it will be about inspiring people. When they watch that 1 minute, they think, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to be that. I want to buy that. I want to get that. So that's what we want to aim through the video snippets that we create. And increasingly, apparently Cisco predicted that by 2022, 82% of people will buy products or service through online, through virtual, through video content. So it's time now to invest in planning, thinking about that for your business into the future.
That's fantastic. I think it's you're doing something that not only showcasing businesses with the purpose, but helping them with the storytelling and taking the headache away from it as well.
And it's not, there is a different type of video productions. There are those that you will hire to then film you and everything to make it kind of that commercial thing. We're not about that. We're about efficiency. We're about creating beautiful based on what you send us, so that way you don't have to spend time for people coming to your kitchen or coming to your office to film. There are those need for that, but that's not a consistently. You don't do that consistently, because that's going to cost you a lot of money if you get that kind of video production, unless of course you're multi-million-dollar kind of companies. Then you can afford that, but for small businesses that's not affordable.
But I think not only are you doing that, in terms of the production that you're talking about, you're bringing authenticity to the messaging.
Absolutely. It's about, so when I talk about kindness, about humility, it's about talking from the heart. It's about sharing. And, when you do your own conversation on video, on Zoom, whatever online platform you use, sometimes when you talk to yourself, it can be a bit kind of awkward and it's kind of a bit like, oh, but if you actually have, like, for instance, us having a conversation here, that snippet, we'll be able to take the snippet from you or from me and create 1 minute snippet into that, and then create amazing video content out of that, because it's a conversation that we're having. So there's nothing that is put on. There's nothing that is kind of, it's not the word fake, but like, like you have this, it's not a setup.
Not overly productized. How you watch commercial and you have like the not the fake smile, but you have like an acting smile with an acting position and hand gesture, and
that's right. This is natural, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is natural. Two of us are having a conversation, talking about our experiences, talking about our journey, and then and the tone. It impacts the tone, how you have a conversation. So if you do it yourself, the conversation, the tone is not conversational. The tone is not authentic. People forget that. People listen to the tone of your voice as well as your face expression. It's the way that you tell your story. It's a package thing. So so that's very important for small business.
And it's not scripted either, is it?
No,
because the tone is not scripted. Because I know that when I read something or have to memorize the words, the sound that I like, the tone that I use is very different to me and you talking right now, which people get it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I guess I love how much you're sharing and the work that you're doing, especially with this videos that you're putting together. So I guess if with the corporate buyer side, if we want to, not want to, but what I wanted to ask you is that have you come across, or do you see opportunities for corporates to also utilize the service to highlight their mission and what they're trying to achieve as well?
Oh, absolutely. So funny. The corporate has corporate speak. So their language in corporate is so corporatized that when you talk, if you create content internally, and I have dealt with corporate before, the content that they create internally is very corporate language. Now, if you want to then appeal to a different market out there, the audience out there that are now online and looking for good, authentic voices and authentic stories, the corporate has to get into that space. Otherwise, you'll not be able to build. The trust is so important, right? That relationship with the brand, relationship with the business, relationship with the corporate or organization. If you don't have an authentic voice, an authentic story nowadays, I think your audience or your client or your customer will leave and will look for something that will then touch their heart and their minds. And then they're saying, hang on, that person or that organization or that brand speak to me better because they can feel me, right? It's about feeling, right? In the past, business is about, forget about the heart. So it's just about, money and pocket.
That's right.
But now it's different. I think we're moving in a world of virtual whereby it's so important for corporate or government organizations, including, to have your to position yourself in a way that's building trust for your brand and building credibility for what you're offering or what your service is doing or who your team are. So definitely, so there's an opportunity for corporate to really break that corporate mold of, say, look, this is our team. This is what they've done. They've worked hard for your money. They've worked hard to look after your money if it's bank. This is what we're trying to do. So that way there's some transparency as well about what they're doing.
I agree. Do you know, and we probably have to have known it. We can keep going and talking about all of so much.
Oh yeah, we've got running out of time.
I know, but let me just finish off just one more thing that the corporate side, that not only can this video help connect them with the customers, staff retention is a big issue, and staff recruiting as well. And if they can showcase I guess the engine of the corporate, the values in a way that connects with prospective candidates or attract really amazing talent to the business, this is something that they should do as well.
Absolutely. Retention, attraction, it's always been an issue for the corporate world because as we've, as I've said, people are looking now, scanning which company, which organization, where would I want to be that aligns with my values, my humanity. And yeah, people, organization and corporate have to really shape that so that people be attracted to stay with them and retain them as well. Otherwise, they take their skills and they take their knowledge of working, say, 5 years, 6 years, and move on because the company or the organization isn't really looking after the well-being and include their staff into what they're doing into the future. Take them with them in the future, the growth of the company.
I completely agree. So if the corporate buyers or small business buyers who are looking to come to you and say, look, we want something like this for our business, how do they find you?
Look, of course, the Dawn Media Productions website is Dawn Media Productions, one word with an S.com. You can go to our website there, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and have a conversation. Because obviously, some organisations might have limited budget, and we're happy to work within the budget as well. But also to understand. Obviously, different organizations, different businesses have different needs. And so there's, in terms of content, in terms of marketing and creating video snippets, we want to do it well. And we want to ensure that whatever we create for you really suits your business and who you are, where you are, and making sure that you will grow as well successfully with us.
That's fantastic, Di. I think that's amazing. So everybody heard that. So it's Dawn Media Productions with an S.com. And we'll tag also this. We're going to share this on social media, and we will tag Di's profile so that you can find her easily on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. Di, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just also want to quickly mention that you've also becoming an Elect member, and yes. We will be adding your profile onto our platform, which we've just going through a massive change. So you'll find Di there soon on Elect, and don't forget that every transaction on Elect, 1% of that funds gender equality projects, and that's our social impact to the business, to all the businesses that we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you again. And thanks everyone for watching this. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, same time, same back channel. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.